Last week on Unglossy.
He's taking no personal credit for it, and instead he's thinking of, well, if we did that, we're doing this. Maybe we should look into this as well. You're doing God's work, my man. You're doing God's work. I got to tell
That's
you.
very kind. That's very, very kind, and I appreciate that. But you know what? I always say that like we're all on the same planet, going in the same direction. If we can align some dots, we can change everything.
From the top.
I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
And I'm Bun B. Welcome to Unglossy.
Real stories, unfiltered dialogue, and the voices moving culture beyond the gloss of hype and headlines.
So buckle up, Unglossy starts now.
We are back for another Unglossy. We're on a roll here.
Yep.
We've had some very interesting people on this show talking about some very interesting things.
And we've been able to be consistent too. Like we haven't had any like off weekends where we didn't have a guest.
Yeah.
That we didn't have a scheduling conflict. Let me knock on the wood because I may have just
jinxed us. Thank you.
No, we
but no, man, things have been rolling smooth. These conversations have been going over very well. I think at this point we've probably each brought a guest to the table, and the other hosts have been able to be a part of the conversation in a very like natural way, like not forcing their way into the conversation. And I think that's because generally myself, Tom, and Jeff were naturally inquisitive people. Like we want to know things. Like we are learners in the current. Not kind of living off of the information that we've been given and just kind of always referring back to something, but having new points of connectivity with the culture right now. And I think that's what makes this show interesting.
Yeah. And we've dabbled in a couple different things from food to football.
It's crazy that like we're working the spectrum right now. I gotta say we are.
Yeah,
we're working.
But they all do have that central theme of culture.
Yeah,
and guys that are kind of making a significant impact on the way things are shaped, the way things are thought about, the way things are done.
Yep.
Which I think is very exciting.
This one is very, very different because it doesn't intersect culture in the ways that we've kind of talked about it. Like we've been dealing with low hanging fruit as far as culture is concerned.
Yeah.
This one takes us on a bit of a turn, and I'm really interested to see this.
And that's a good segue because we got a very special guest today. Today on Unglossy, we're joined by Michael Ford, also known as the hip hop architect. Michael's career lives at the intersection of design and culture, using his hip hop as a lens to rethink how cities are planned and how communities see themselves in the built environment. He's the founder of the hip hop architecture camp, which we need to get into because it's an amazing, amazing program. It's an award-winning program. He introduces unrepresented youth to design through the power of hip hop. He's also the lead architect, and this is what you were referring to, Jeffrey, of the Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx and the founding principal of Brand New Design Studio. His work has been featured everywhere, from Rolling Stone to the Today Show to ESPN. His TED Talk has challenged a generation to view architecture as culture, not just construction. And I love that phrase, culture, not just construction. An architect, educator, cultural innovator, reshaping the blueprint for the future. Welcome to Unglossy, Mr. Michael Ford. How are you, sir?
Peace. Yo, I'm feeling good. Thanks for that intro. I needed to record that. I need to use that next time I go somewhere.
We got it for you.
That was good.
We'll send you a clip, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on to have this conversation.
So now, where are you talking to us from? Because you recently moved, if I'm correct here, right?
Yes, sir. I am now a Texan. So I still got my 313 number. I'm from Detroit. I ain't giving that 313 phone number up. But I'm just outside of Dallas now. I'm in a city called Little Elm, just outside of Dallas. So
Wow.
Welcome.
I'm in the DFW.
Okay. How long you been?
You got the ambassador of Texas on with you right now.
Oh, yeah. That's what makes this call so excited, man. It's great to be in Texas and to be speaking to the governor, the real governor of Texas.
How long you been?
If only I had the power, things would be shaped different.
How long you been in Dallas?
So I've been here for about this will be 3 years. So I'm still new, man. Still using GPS going everywhere.
Yeah. And that's a big move, man. You were in Detroit forever, right?
Yeah, man. Born and raised. And, but happy wife, happy life. So my wife wanted to move and say less.
You gotta go.
I'm here.
Gotta go.
I love it.
So we got to start with kind of a foundation here. And Bun and I were talking about this when we first got on. Like, help me connect the dots here. between hip hop and architecture. Where did this generate? How did this start?
Yeah, so for me, man, this has been a conversation for the better part of 2 decades, something I've been exploring since a college student. So growing up in Detroit, you got I had a lot of friends who were trying to be rappers, some folks who made it, but also just growing up in a music city. I played the trumpet when I was younger. My dad had a jazz band. And when I got to architecture school, this is where I started to link the two for me. I had 1 year to do a graduate thesis. I'm like, all right, I'm about to spend 1 year in grad school, spending all this money. Let me make sure I don't bore myself. I got to pick my own topic for my thesis. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do skyscrapers that you can live in. You'll never have to come out of these skyscrapers. This was a new thing. It's 2004, 2005. So I'm going to do the livable skyscraper, the building you come in and never leave out. I got bored with that shit in like 2 months. I'm like, I need to change it. And my friend made a bet. He's like, yo, why don't you just mix music and architecture? Like, see how music can encourage or can inspire architecture. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I changed my thesis a couple months in, and my thesis was titled Hip Hop Inspired Architecture. And what it was, while we in the studio, we design and we got music in the background all day.
Yeah.
We listen to music. That's what keep us going in the middle of the night as students. So I said, I'm going to take what's in the background. I'm going to put it on paper now. I'm going to not just have it playing while I design. I'm actually designing to the music. So it started off with me listening to tracks and saying, I'm going to solve the issues that they're talking about in the music through architecture. So you got people that's rapping about their neighborhood, their block, the buildings they live in, the house they live in, the school they go to. But they also are like imagining something different. They're talking about politics that's housed within these structures. So I said, how can architecture respond to this? So I would just start listening to music and designing shit that responded to the lyrics I was hearing. That was the start about 20 years. And, I've been building on it since then.
Now, a side note, I know exactly what you're talking about here. I was an architecture major as well. And I can remember those long nights in the studio with music blasting. And I remember the days of that thesis too, because that was rough. So I can appreciate that. And I kind of like that you ended up switching yours and going into something that probably was a hell of a lot easier for you because it was kind of who you were.
It's not just easier, because I will say it's hard. 'Cause I'm still trying to answer the question.
Yeah.
20 years from now. That's why it's great to be on these podcasts and have these conversations. I want to hear y'all feedback. But it wasn't so much easier, but I would say it was something more related to me. When you're in college, you're always exploring the other. Yeah. Especially in architecture school where only 2% of us, only 2% of our architects in the United States are black. 2%. So you have a lot of situations where you're studying the so-called greats and none of them look like you. I say, you know what? I'm going to take the biggest cultural innovators that we got, hip hop artists, and I'm going to see how I can study the way that they became these cultural icons. And can I model my career the same way? Like, not put my culture in the background. I'm going to wear it on my chest, wear it on my sleeve. I'm going to cover in this space. There's only one person. I'm the only black person in the space. I'm going to be unapologetically me. And so 20 years now in this game of talking about hip hop and architecture, it's been a blessing to work on projects like the Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx, because that brings it full circle from being something just like an academic exploration to now something I really built my profession on and built a design firm on.
Dive in a little deeper, though, because I think I've heard you speak before that it's bigger, though, than just tying music, right? There's a lot more kind of nuance there in terms of, and you probably will explain it better than me, but not only just the language patterns and the pattern of hip hop, but also kind of the stories behind it that really inspire the work that you do.
Yeah. So when we talk about hip hop, when I talk about hip hop, I'm looking at, all the elements of hip hop. It's not just the MC, but I'm taking all the elements and seeing how they can inform the built environment. But some of the things that we do that's totally unique, I have young people come to the camp, the hip hop architecture camp. This is where I took all that stuff I did in grad school and some of my professional work, and I distilled it down to a program for kids. and I'm teaching kids about architecture, but in a very unique way. So I say, hey, who's your favorite MC? We'll print off some lyrics. Instead of listening to them, let's print off the lyrics. Let's see what they're talking about. And then we'll do things like highlight the rhyme cadences, the rhythms and the patterns in the music. We're highlighting them with markers. And we're trying to extract the textures from their favorite MC and then turn those into textures that you can actually touch and feel and walk through. So we'll build a whole city, based on the rhythms and textures from MCs. And then we invite rappers to come to the hip hop architecture camp. We've done it in about 42 cities across the country. We've done some in Kenya, out in Nairobi and Toronto. But we'll invite MCs to come and they'll see kids creating these cities. Like, oh, that's pretty nice. I like the way you built this city. I like the density here. They'll get all architectural. Especially if it's an architect coming, the architects will say, hey, I like the density here and the amount of space that you have dedicated to skyscrapers, etc. But then my kids will tell you, nah, this is not a city I built at all. These Bun B lyrics, I just turned it into a city, where you have taller buildings are based on larger words you use. So we really look at what can we extract from hip hop to use as tools for building and creating. It's a very unique and fun process. And then when our kids talk about it, they look like geniuses. Like it's them. They have a style. They have an approach that is totally unique. So even if they one person in the room, they're the only young black person in that room talking about architecture, their story and approach is going to blow away any and everybody else in that room.
Absolutely will. Yeah.
This is all fascinating to me. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
I want to go back a little bit, though. Like, what sparked you to get into architecture as a kid? I want to hear what that.
Yeah, so I grew up wanting to design cars.
Happened.
Growing up in Detroit, cars was a thing. So you grow up in your family, you got 2-3 cars. You have a number of cars. Detroit was not about mass transit back then. It was, you need a weekend car, you need a fun car, you need your work car. So for me, cars was my life. My dad always had the raggedy car, so I was working on cars. He had the A to B car, so I learned how to change oil, do all that as a young dude. And I said, I'm going to design cars. It flipped for me when I went to a summer program. I was maybe in 5th or 6th grade. And this is when I learned that a new car comes out every year. So it's not just this Mustang. Next year, another Mustang is going to come out. And you might not design that one. And then right after that, another Mustang is going to come out. And then I started to learn the price of new cars. Like, man, if I design this car, my daddy ain't going to be able to afford this for a long ass time. I know we always had the struggle buggy. And I saw the price tag. And I'm thinking of this as a little kid. I'm talking to the teacher. She said, you should think about architecture. And you can design a building. Nobody has to purchase that building to experience it. It's not going to be a new one in that space every year. So once you design something that's permanent and hopefully it outlasts you. So now your parents don't have to buy that building to come and walk and experience what you designed. So that was the switch that was flipped for me as a young kid. And after that, I had the blessing of going to a high school in Detroit called Cass Tech. We call it the greatest high school in the world. We had Donna Ross, Big Sean, our once beloved Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick.
Once beloved.
That's quite a cast of characters, though, coming from one high school.
Yeah, it's a great high school, but you get to pick a curriculum or a major when you go into high school. You got people in performing arts, and they had an architecture program. So that's where I got deeper into architecture in high school, and the rest is history.
This is crazy how all this intersects because
Okay, interesting.
I've been thinking about this, as I got the research materials and whatnot, and I look at the way that hip hop has been expressed through so many different lenses. Initially, it was very low hanging fruit. If you look at the 4 pillars, it was hip hop expressed through dancing, hip hop expressed through music, hip hop expressed through art form, hip hop expressed through words. But as hip hop as a culture grew, different things connected itself to hip hop and expressed itself. I've heard people talk about seeing hip hop in colors and, in their mind, like they register these things as colors. I've met chefs who express hip hop through food. And I think to Virgil, who was on the cusp of trying to integrate hip hop into architecture, and they literally had built a brand around architecture. Do you find that people are starting to look at different ways to express themselves and the culture in the way that the world can probably access a little easier than through the temporary expressions like music, culture? They may not understand the terminology, they may not understand the fashion of it, but do you think that this lends itself to people understanding and embracing hip hop at a more palatable level?
Yeah, man, and shout out to Virgil. Thanks for mentioning Virgil. You know, he has a degree in architecture. A lot of people don't know that. Got a degree in mechanical engineering from University of Wisconsin, Madison. Smart brother, gone too soon. But yeah, I totally agree. I say, you know, hip hop's what, 50 this year, 52, 52-year history. The culture has explored every profession that you can imagine, but in a temporal state, you know, whether it was through lyricism, through music videos, there was always an exploration of other professions. But now, you know, as people have not checked the culture at the door, because a lot of times we'll say you want to become an architect, you want to become a chef, you want to become an engineer, you need to check that culture at the door, go into that space, assimilate, get your license. But now,
The hair, right?
facts. But now, because I think people can recognize that we're standing on the shoulders of genres. Like a person like me, I'm 42. So hip hop is older than me. I was born into the genre. It's been a lot of people who laid a foundation where I didn't have to check my culture at the door. I came in with it. And I still don't think it's as palatable as people might think. And I love that, because a lot of people still don't understand hip hop. They understand it at a surface level. So to really translate it and pull it into these other professions, it's us that's going to have to do it. It's people who are the innovators, the OGs, or people that was really born into the culture that live, eat, and shit hip hop. It's people who do it at a surface level, that pervert it, take advantage of it, look at it as a quick monetary gain. But I think it's people out there like myself and some others who are really trying to, you know, use the culture to propel the young people who are, again, living and breathing it.
So when you go to those kind of spaces, like you said, you know, where you know a lot of people are forced to assimilate, you know, before your generation, like, what's the response when you walk in with this hip hop energy, and you obviously, you know, your shit, so you know your study, you know that you're not, you know, you have the technical part of it down, but how's the response when you come in also with the hip hop energy?
I'm gonna keep it real. So
Keep it real now. Keep it real.
I was telling y'all when I switched my thesis in grad school, this was the first reaction. So we few weeks or maybe into like that second month, and now we got to stand up as graduate students and tell all the undergraduate students what we researching for the year. So then that way they can come by, see what we working on in the lab. They can peek in. They kind of know what we working on. So my professor and advisor fully expected me to stand up and say, yeah, I'm working on this livable skyscraper, you know, the building you'll never have. So when I stood up, I'm like, yo, my name is Michael Ford. My thesis is combining hip hop and architecture. It was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, where did this come from? This ain't what we've been working on. So that initial reaction was abrasive, you know, even from the professor. But once we started getting into it, and I said, hey, architecture has always been influenced by other cultures. You go back throughout time, whether you're looking at cathedrals, looking at the pyramids, every style of architecture has been inspired by its culture. And I said the most consumed culture and the most recognizable culture today is hip hop. So at first, academically, it was, I don't know about it, but once I proved there's some academic validity here, everybody was all for it. But later on in the professional world, that's something different. It's like, you know, what the hell is this? And I took the approach early on, like a Dr. Dre almost, you know, architecture is this weird world where, like, you can't call yourself an architect until you get the degree, you take all the exams, and now you're an architect.
You got your seal.
So, and it takes a long time to do that. And, you know, I say I want people to call me an architect. I'm in debt. I've been working for about 5-6 years out of school. I still can't call myself an architect yet. And, all right, I'm going to call myself the hip-hop architect. So that it was kind of like Dr. Dre. And I started taking like this hip-hop attitude. Like, you know, Dre wasn't no doctor, but Everybody called him Dr. Dre. You'll never call another person a doctor that's not a doctor. So I said, how can I get people to start calling me an architect? And some people didn't like that. It's like, a hip hop architect? Nah, he's trying to call himself an architect. But it became official when I did a keynote for our group. It's called the American Institute of Architects. I did a keynote there for our national conference. Michelle Obama was one of the other keynotes. So, I mean, it's a huge conference.
Wow.
It was Michelle Obama's first talk out of the White House. I'm one of the other keynotes there. And when they called me up and called me the hip hop architect, at that time, I still wasn't licensed. But they introduced me in front of, there's about 40,000 people in this room. They called me the hip hop architect. Oh, my chest is all
Damn.
That's awesome.
They recognizing the work. I never put it down. I wasn't going to give up on it. I mean, I'm licensed now. That's long behind me, but it was accepted more academically than it was professionally.
So when you
that
started,
makes sense. That makes sense.
Go ahead.
Got it.
No, I'm sorry. That makes sense because as I listen to you talk and I think of culture, because we're primarily talking about hip hop culture, but I'm just thinking about culture in general and the intentionality of how venues were built for a specific purpose. The Carnegie Hall, Hollywood Bowl, even back to the theater and the Globe back when Shakespeare was producing plays. Like there were all these venues were built with the intention specifically to showcase opera, to showcase music, to showcase theater. We're now living in an age where you're building a venue with the specific intentionality of it representing culture. What has been the feedback from other architects in the space with you and that specific intentionality? Because out of every other space that we've been able to, I've played Carnegie Hall. I'm actually getting ready to play the Bowl. I've played a lot of places that were not intended to showcase hip hop. The beauty of your museum is that it's an express intention for it to facilitate and showcase hip hop. When you put that out there, how are you received by other, I guess, guys that deal in office space or residential or real estate or that type, high rises and whatnot?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because when I started my own firm and I said, hey, I'm working on projects that are related to the culture. That was the only projects I'm working on. I worked at some huge architecture firms. But I stepped away and said, I got to dedicate myself to the culture. And people say, hey, you won't survive like that. It's not enough work in hip hop to build a firm. Say, you don't know hip hop, man. It's not what you hear on the radio. You got contractors, you got businessmen, you got entrepreneurs. Like the culture is well beyond the original elements. So architecturally, but like people are like, you're not going to survive. It's not going to work. You don't have enough clients. What conference do you go to where you can pick up a job with a hip hop artist? It ain't no conference. I just got to be out here. So when the hip hop museum came around, man, it happened. It was a blessing. I had moved from Detroit. I was living in Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah,
The most
damn.
un-hip hop place in America.
Damn.
All right. Man. So
exactly, like damn.
I'm like, this hip hop stuff is over. In Madison, I'm like, it's probably not going to happen. My wife was at the university. So again, happy wife, happy life. So I'm there. And I ended up meeting Kurtis Blow. Kurtis Blow came to do a talk at the university, and he was talking about his dreams to build a hip hop museum. He's like, I got to leave something behind us more than the music. What do we leave behind?
Yeah.
And a professor called me up like, yo, Kurtis Blow is up here talking about a hip hop museum. He said he don't have an architect. You might want to slide up here if you can. So luckily I answered my phone. Boom, jet up to the school.
You ran right up there.
Got up there, and Kurtis Blow, they introduced us like, hey, go Mike Ford. He spent his career exploring hip hop and architecture. I showed him stuff on the phone. Right there, he called some of his partners that was thinking about the museum too. And it was it from there. I came on. I said, I'm on a conference call with a few other folks. Their executive director, his name is Rocky Bucano.
Rocky's a great dude. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Rocky. I know
Rocky.
Rocky.
Okay.
No Rocky for a long
Kurtis,
time, like 30 years.
He conference put me and Rocky on a call. And I'm like, yeah, I love to work on a project. They said, well, can you give us some sketches or some drawings so we can make a press release? Like, we're going to do this museum. I'm like, hell no, there's no way that I'm going to be the person who put out the image. I'm going to be the single hand that touches this drawing and say, this is hip hop. This is the museum.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do it. So, Bun, to your question, like, what was people's response in the profession? I made them love it. I was like, I'm going to do a design charrette and I'm going to bring folks together. And then Kurtis was like, what's a charrette? So I was like,
I was
I
about to
didn't
say
want
the
to
same
sound. I
thing.
didn't
What
want to
is
sound
that?
stupid and
I literally
ask.
was about to say, what's the design threat?
so I was like, it's like a freestyle. It's like a battle. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna come in and you just design it off the top of your head. You listen to the conversation, you designing something where we all working together, and then we'll come up with a few images that we all like co-created, and then we'll put that out. So then the pressure ain't on one person. Let's all co-author this thing. They was like, yeah, don't have to say fucking charrette again. Let's just say
I mean,
we
it's like
call
a
it
giant
design.
brainstorm where you're all coming together and you're creating something like
Yeah.
in real time, which I think I didn't realize that's how it came to be. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we called it Design Ciphers. That was his name. So we
Yeah.
threw this big design cipher in the Bronx. So it was an abandoned building where we was going to do the museum at first. It was old Bronx County Courthouse. So Kurtis and Rocky invited folks from hip hop and media and press. I invited like the top black architects from around the country. And we all sat shoulder to shoulder. So now all the architects like, oh, hell yeah, right? Like, hey, I'm sitting here next to Kurtis Blow sketching. Yeah, Roxanne Shante. It was a lot of folks. And it was the day that Prince passed away. That's why we definitely remember it, because
Oh wow.
everybody's phone is going off and Prince
Wow.
passed away. So it made it more important to how do we tell our story? What legacy do we leave behind? But that's how it started. And I got people in the profession to love it, because I invited them all to the table. Like, hey, we all grew up on this culture. These are all of our icons. So I want to get them a little piece of that creation too.
And we'll be right back.
Welcome to Merrick Studios, where stories take the mic and culture comes alive.
We're not just a network, we're family, bringing you smart, soulful, unfiltered conversations.
And this season, we're bringing the heat with our biggest lineup yet. Whatever you're into, music, sports, business, we got you covered.
Merrick Studios, where the conversation starts and keeps going.
Check out our full lineup, including Unglossy with Bun B, Jeffrey Sledge, and myself, Tom Frank. Now streaming at wearemerrickstudios.com.
Master the art of lyricism with Pendulum Mink, the first school for rap. Learn elite techniques through immersive lessons, real-world exercises, and guidance from hip-hop icons. This is where MCs sharpen their skills and glow boldly on the mic. Ready to level up? Visit pendulummink.com and start your journey today.
And now, back to the show. So, Jeffrey, I didn't realize that you had known Rocky for 30 plus years.
Yeah. We started in the music business pretty much around the same time. Rocky used to work at MCA Records. He was a promo guy. So I know him from that. I don't just because when I heard he was doing a museum, because I had lost touch with him. He had left the business for a while, and I was like, "Oh, really?" You know what I'm saying? But Rocky's always cool. I was just like, "Cool," you know. And then it kept gaining more and more momentum around the city, and they got some support from like the Bronx, councilman and stuff like that. I was like, "Shit, Rocky's turning. This is really going to happen." This
I
is really
had the
becoming a
opportunity to
thing.
meet him in,
I know Rocky forever.
is it January or February? We got a tour of what you've done so far, and kind of Rocky gave us a tour, and a lot of it is rough still, right? And I don't know how it's changed since then, but the way he described what was happening in each of the spaces was absolutely amazing. Like, if you closed your eyes, the way he described it, you could picture it perfectly. And the setup of how it is now with the giant prints in the windows, and just from the outside, it looks unbelievable. Like, I can't wait to see where you go with this and how it comes to life.
I love
Yeah.
that this paints a very cool picture for kids looking to go into STEM, and showing that you don't have to be separate from the culture in any way
Yeah.
to pursue a future in STEM. As a matter of fact, you can actually incorporate the culture into your trade. I think that just sends a really good message to kids of color as well.
Yeah, and I talk a lot when I'm with young folks at my camp. So yeah, we run these camps. They're totally free. I'll get some sponsors locally to put something together. Pay for travel, pay for materials. But what I tell the young folks at these programs is every industry is copying you. You are the source of innovation. When we was wearing baggy jeans, like, hey, Levi's will come out with the baggy jean fit. You know, we wearing our big brother, big sister jeans. They a little too big, but we're gonna rock them so hard that you don't even want to wear your fitted jeans no more. So, you know, if we start modifying our cars, right, the auto industry is following us. Dapper Dan, and he started biting Gucci so hard that Gucci like, yeah, we just got to bring you in. So we are the source of innovation. So I'm trying to, as they go into different STEM fields, whether it's architecture or engineering, I want them, again, to not leave that innovation behind. Bring it, whether it's the way you walk, the way you talk. People are fascinated by you. They're going to tell you, don't talk like that, don't walk like that. And as soon as you stop doing it, boom, they go a commercial with all that style they had you stop doing. So I'm like, yo, let's bring it in. And I also tell them, somebody has designed every part of your day for you. From the moment you wake up and put on your house shoes, or you put on your hoodie, your hat, your watch, even when you sit and eat dinner or sit and eat breakfast, the bed you sleep in, somebody's thought about how the sun is going to hit your face in the morning. Our world is being designed and created by folks, and it's not a lot of us, or I should say enough of us, that's in those design careers. So I'm getting them to come in and think about us, put us in the forefront of those design exploration.
That's crazy that that's the kind of conversations that you guys have amongst yourself as designers, that you can actually realize that every facet of our daily lives has in some form or fashion been marketed to us and curated to us.
Yeah.
To make it seem as if it's our idea too. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, somebody's thought about everything that you've done. It's a wild thing. They thought about it far before you've done it.
And back to Virgil, like that's what was one of the genius things about him. You know, Bun too. It's like he got in and he started designing stuff for IKEA, and he started designing cars, and he started designing watches, and so he was thinking that like I can design stuff that people use every day in their everyday lives, rug, placemats or whatever. Just he wasn't just, it wasn't just about clothes. It was like a whole life of building a world, basically building a world
that allows you to be immersed in culture, right? Because you got the clothing, you got the shoes, you got, but now you got the home, right? The home goods, where you're waking up in the morning, looking at the Virgil clock, you know, sitting on the dirt Virgil daybed at the Virgil desk, like all of these things, and you're immersed in his vision of what your day should look and feel like. And because it's steeped in culture, those of us that are steeped in culture are immediately receptive. That's crazy. Just reframe this whole idea of my day for me now. I'm kind of mind blown.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and the genius behind, I think, this idea of like getting kids to explore it, if I can call it genius, because it's not me, or it's really the young kids connecting with the artistry that they love. So again, I can imagine, which we haven't done one in Houston yet, we got to make this happen. When the genius is already in our lyrics, like hip hop is talking about every topic, whether it's environmental injustices, and I not only talked about it, but also like floated ideas for solutions. The issue is that we spent a lot of time dancing to that music or bobbing our head to the music, but like, let's really slow it down. Let's print off some of this stuff that people are imagining through lyricism, and let's create it. Like, what's the image? Like the music video is really about selling the song. So it creates visuals, but a lot of times the visuals are, again, tied to the story that's being told. But now this is like the next, like architecture is that next step. It's now not just giving the visuals to a story that's being told. It's responding to those and trying to solve some of the issues, or not just solve, but help respond to some of the issues that are being told through the music. So when my colleagues that don't look like us, you know, the other 98% of architecture, you know, they criticize it, saying, hey, you know, this is not a true genre. You know, it's not Renaissance or Baroque or modern. Like, what is hip hop architecture? I'm like, yeah, whatever. They said the music is too abrasive. The graffiti, you know, is vigilante, if you will. What I tell them all the time is, if you don't like, especially the music, if you don't like the music, design better communities. Because if you design better communities, it'd be less things for us to rap about. Because when we're rapping, we're not critiquing the creations of people who look like me. We're critiquing all of the urban designers, politicians, and architects that don't look like us. So that's what my TED talk is all about. It's about like hip hop as this critique of architecture and urban design. And the critique is there. And I say, I had to give it an interested name just so the TEDx folks will call me back. They're looking at hundreds of proposals. So I said, hip hop is the post-occupancy evaluation of modernism. So I just wanted to say, what the fuck is he talking about?
Sounds
So
very, very good.
so
Sounds intriguing.
I was like, it wasn't at 50 years just yet, but I said for decades, hip hop has just been critiquing the space. And I want to highlight those critiques and then give an alley-oop for our next generation of architects and designers to be that much greater than what we've had so far.
I'm looking at everything that you're talking about
Real
now
quick, okay.
so I'm thinking of design now, right? And culture. And I've been to a couple of different hotels, right, around the country and around the world, where they've designed certain suites that are geared towards certain people, right? So, say for example, you have someone that is not of the culture trying to design a hotel suite for someone that they think is a hip hop aficionado. And then you take that same room and have it designed by someone that's of the culture. And you could do that with country music, you could do that with jazz, right? There's this outside perception of what we think the world is that these people live in until someone from that world actually shows you. And I think the first person I can think of is Lenny Kravitz, right? Lenny Kravitz was doing a lot of interior decorating, specifically for hotels, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was the SLS that he was designing for. And the
Great, I didn't
reason
realize
people
that.
were receptive to it is because Lenny Kravitz is the type of person that would typically stay at a very
Yeah.
high-end hotel, right? Depending on how it was designed, like the artwork, the architecture, the way the lobby was spaced out, all of these different things. And he realized, you know what? Whoever designed this doesn't stay at these things, right? They're designing this space for people that they think they understand. And Lenny was like, no, I know exactly what people want when they walk into these spaces. And went in and designed them, if I'm not mistaken, the property in Miami, and then was asked to do a couple of other properties. And it just shows you that there's a perception of what people think they understand from a very surface level, and then what people know they understand from the hip hop level. We see everything marketed with a hip hop aesthetic, you know what I'm saying? From breakdancing bumblebees to rapping gerbils and all of this type of stuff. And it makes for cute things that we all kind of look at and be like, that's weird, that's kind of crazy. But then you look at someone like Russell Simmons and Rush Advertising, where it was a lot more subtle and a lot more family oriented because he understood that hip hop culture, there's parents in hip hop culture, there's children, there's grandparents, they're families. We think like every other family. We might dress a little cooler, but we have the same core values in hand. And I think we're seeing a lot more of that now in modernism where guys could be like, you know what, let's do an EDM room and let Diplo design that, right? Let's do a goth room and let Korn design it or Marilyn Manson or someone. Instead of trying to guess the culture, more and more people are actually giving the culture space to create. And I think that's the beauty of how we are so easily receptive to hip hop, to the hip hop museum, is because the idea comes from the culture, the funding comes from the culture, the leadership comes from the culture, and it's all, again, I keep going back to intentionality because I understand how much of that like dictates design, right?
You're right. Yeah, you're totally right. Shout out to Lenny Kravitz too. He also got a brand with Crate and Barrel. He designed like total room, from rugs, dressers, everything that you would need for a space. But yeah, Lenny Kravitz is dope. But one of the things that I did, Bun, too, with designing products. So I have a rug line that I designed with a company called Shaw Contract. They're based out of Atlanta. If you've been in any airport, I think they probably have their carpet and rugs in like every airport across the country. It's a huge brand. They got a huge market share. But connected with them, and I say, I can design a product, but how is this benefiting the culture? What's the benefit? So when I sat at that table, I said, okay, I can design 5 rugs, one for each element of the culture. It's going to come out during the 50th anniversary of hip hop. But for every rug that's sold, I want you to give a percentage of those profits to the hip hop architecture camp. So now I can go to cities. I don't have to ask people for donations. I want to be able to go to any city, anywhere, run my program. But then we also give scholarships away because we've been doing a program for 10 years now. Next year will be our 10-year anniversary. So I got kids who came in as shorties that now they're going to school they're going to college to study some type of design field. So I got them excited about it. I need to support them more. So now we give scholarships, but it's all from the sale of these rugs. And then it helps other designers now. So if you're designing a building, whether it's an office building, restaurant, hotel, you can specify this rug to be a part of your project. So now they are also helping the hip hop architecture camp. So I've done that.
That's cool.
How do you benefit the culture? So yeah, you see the dancing gerbils, but yeah, you're selling more Kia Souls now. But what does that do for everybody? So that's what I've done with all my brand collaborations. Like I have them give to the nonprofit so that we can, encourage young folks to design too.
And you've done quite a few. I know the first time I met you, it was the chair with, remind me of the brands that you did that with.
Yeah, it's a company called Herman Miller.
Herman Miller, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and, the carpet run, me and Lupe did a talk when we launched the brand. So we did a talk in Chicago. They debuted the line in Chicago. And it won like the best flooring product of the year, won like all these national awards that come out for interior designers and products. The chair product, so this was not long after George Floyd was murdered. And I did a collaboration with this furniture company called Herman Miller. They got this lounge chair, man. You've seen it a lot, but if you're not in the design world, you probably never know what the chair is called. But it's called the Eames chair. The chair is like $6,000. It's a chair in the autumn.
Wow.
It's this mid-century modern piece of it's more of a piece of art than it is a chair. So I met them and they were like, hey, how can we help your message? You want to make people, I was doing a mural for George Floyd at the time where I painted one tick mark for every second that Officer Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck. So I just painted one tick mark for every second. It was a performative piece. It was time lapse. It was filmed. And this chick came and crossed all of my shit out. She just, after the mural was made, she came and X'd all the tick marks out. So it became a story on the news. And this company, Herman Miller, seen me and said, how can we help? I was like, hey, give me your most expensive chair. I want to do a mural on it. And then I want you to put it on your website, so that every architect and interior designer can see it. And I wrote the names of victims of racial violence throughout America's history on this chair. It's a dope piece. And then, we did a couple of talks. We shipped the chair around the country to have conversations with people about certain names on the chair, including my little brother-in-law in Detroit. He was murdered by Detroit PD.
Wow.
And then we sold the chair and donated it to an organization that they're architects and they help people that go through situations with racial violence where they got to up and move real quick. They might be handicapped now or can't walk. They need a house that's ADA accessible, but they had to move so quick because of all the heat, the national attention. They didn't buy a house that was accessible. So this group goes around and helps those homes become more accessible, building ramps or doing interior renovations. So a lot of my collabs are all about giving back to the culture and advancing design for us in some way, not just selling a product.
It's amazing.
I want to talk about functionality. The more you talk, the more I think about these things, specifically architecture. You've talked about designing an Eames chair. Why do we not commonly associate furniture design with architecture? Why does the general public look at architecture as just buildings and structures?
Man, that's our fault. That's as a profession. And it's why I made the hip hop architecture camp. because say, hey, more people should be architects. It's like, yeah, but when you're growing up, how many shows on TV do you see about architecture?
Right.
When you watch Sesame Street,
None.
is there an architect on it? When the last time you seen a movie and the character was an architect? You had like
The
Wesley Snipes.
Brutalist. That was it. That's the
Yeah.
only movie I ever seen.
And when do they look like us? You got like Wesley Snipes in Jungle Fever.
Was he an architect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And so the answer to like why do we only think about buildings is because the profession is not out there enough through popular culture so that people can really understand what architecture is. It's still mystique. It's like, oh, y'all guys are good at math and you're great drawers. It's like, and people also think that it's one man or one woman that designs everything. Like we got whole teams. And we don't just design buildings. Like our skills translate. So you have architects who don't design any buildings, no homes. It's people who work on movies. Like a lot of people who worked on the movie Star Wars. Like these were former architects that were designing these virtual worlds, doing computer graphics and animation, set design. So people were designing stages. So architecture allows us to go into different worlds, but the general public don't tap us for those things because our profession is still mystique. But it's still, I should say mystique, it's still mysterious. And that's what I'm trying to break with like hip hop architecture, showing that we're more than just buildings and houses. We have very conscious ways to approach how we design, what we design, and we can do more than just buildings. We can design cutlery. We can design clothes. You name it, we can do it.
That's what you and Virgil were trying to do. That's what you're trying to do now, and what Virgil was doing then, is to expand minds of children of color to redefine what we've been told these things are, so you can understand that there's an entry point for you in these spaces. You know what I'm saying? This is crazy. I've realized now
Yeah.
I've had no idea of what architecture is and what an architect.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
52 years old. Thank God you're doing this for children.
Hey, we got some adult programs too. We got to run about.
Sign me up.
But and I think those are essential because the three of you, I can imagine sitting with y'all, and we've done it with artists in the past. Like I've taken artists to San Francisco, and we've done these design ciphers at some of these tech places where we had all the resources we need to create anything that we could dream of.
Yeah.
And but the true innovation comes when we bring people that are part of the culture, that really live off of the culture, that again are the innovators and creators. When we sit at the table with y'all, instead of giving you a pen or a pencil or a computer mouse and saying, hey, I want you to make architecture now, it's like, no, how can I use your voice, your lyricism? How can that influence how things are shaped and made? How can we take an MPC machine and, thinking about some of our greatest producers and say, can we rewire this? And now the input that you have for this MPC, if you make a great beat, can we now turn that great beat and that rhythm, that pattern into patterns that we see on walls or patterns we see in our neighborhoods, in our cities?
Waves.
Exactly. And it's something I learned about this when watching Pharrell. He was on a Oprah show and he's talking about, I think it's called synesthesia.
You see colors and stuff.
That's what I was alluding to earlier, how certain people
that's what you
register things.
Yeah. So I'm like, so if you can see color when you hear music notes, like what else could we explore? Like there's a tangible relationship between music and color. Like, can we start to identify space through sound, right? And if you love this sound, can you make a dope ass space? So if I'm sitting down with Bun, I'm like, again, I don't want you to take a pencil or a computer mouse. Use the sound we already love. Can we get some producers in the room? And how can we, again, remix the way we approach architecture with the way that the culture has produced dance, produced music? So that's what this exploration is all about. And I'm glad the Hip Hop Museum is going to be like the first piece that really shows all the elements coming together into a built space.
What's the timing on that? Are you allowed to say?
Oh yeah, I'm allowed to say it. It's been a marathon. It's been 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
Started in 2016. That's when I met Kurtis and Rocky.
Yep.
The original open date was going to be August 11th of 2023, which would have been the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Yeah.
But soon as the pandemic happened, boom, we know we was at least pushed back by another year. But we're going to open in August of 2026.
Okay.
We got to get y'all there to come do a walkthrough. Tom, if you was there in January,
I was
February,
there in January. I'm sure it's completely different.
Totally different. I mean, walls are up now.
Wow.
It's a completely different space. So you walk through, you can use less of your imagination. You can literally see this thing coming together now.
Oh yeah, we need to do that. Bun, we're gonna do it.
I'm with it.
It's a trip to
I'm with it.
because that I used to be in that area all the time because I used to go. There's a shopping center over there, and I used to go there
right
to
across
Home
the street,
Depot and all that. Yeah,
Look at this museum and walk down Jeff's blocks. Walk down Jeff's old block.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So to see the development of it is like, damn.
Wow.
It's like, damn. It's amazing to see what they've built. I went to they had a pop up maybe
it's down the street a little bit. I think it's still there, right?
Yeah. That was dope too.
Yeah.
This kind of see that little pop up. Some of the stuff that they had in the pop up was like mind blowing. Like Grandmaster Caz's notebook and like stuff like that. So like I can imagine what's going to be in the actual museum.
Yeah. The pop up right across the street. But it's a 50,000. This is a 50,000 square foot. 2 stories.
Yeah.
And what I love about what Rocky and everybody on the museum team did, they were also thinking about what they give back. So on top of the museum, it's like 520 some odd apartments.
These apartments, 100%
right? Affordable.
Yes, resident.
So they teamed with a developer who did all the housing. They're doing a museum on the bottom 2 floors. And and I got to shout out my team too, because again, people think, oh, Mike, the hip hop architect. I got a dope team of folks helping me. I partnered with a firm called Gensler.
Oh yeah,
and Gensler. They're one of the largest firms in the country. So I teamed with their New York office to help bring this project to life. So I worked on a project about 8 years solo dolo. And once we got all the funding in place, I brought on a bigger muscle to help, bring this project to reality. And then all the exhibits are being designed by a team called Ralph Applebaum Associates. So it's a big team effort. I'm out talking about it a lot, but it's 40, 50 people that's on the design team that's bringing this thing to life.
So, Michael, I know you got to run here shortly, but I wanted to try something out with you. We got a lightning round, 5 questions.
Oh, man.
All right, just whatever comes into your mind first.
All right.
Number 1. Hip-hop album that best represents your design philosophy.
I'm going to go with Black on Both Sides.
That's most.
Yes, sir.
What made you pick that?
Well, one, he has a song where he's doing an intro where he says, hip-hop is wherever we at. If we good, hip-hop is good. So wherever we go, that's where hip-hop is going. But then he also has a few tracks like New World, Water. I did a water project with Lupe, Fiasco, and Kenya. That whole album is prophetic. And when you think about it, like math, he's talking about topics that are palatable for young folks that's trying to go into design. Like he's talking about stuff that, again, perfectly aligns with making a great architect or designer.
Number 2, most inspiring building or landmark you've ever visited.
I'll say it's the National Museum of African American History and Culture in D.C.
In D.C., yeah.
I was hoping you was gonna say that. I was like, oh, this dude, but
yeah, I was blessed to give a talk there, and I had a chance to walk it while it was closed. Just cool. Me and about 100 other people, like a real small group.
Number 3, you recently moved to Texas 3 years ago, but if Dallas were a building type, what would it be? That Dallas is a whole new, unique culture in itself.
I don't know. There'd be some big ass building with a whole lot of corridors, man. I've learned that driving in DFW is crazy. Everything is 45 minutes away. So I don't know. It's just the longest building in the world with the most hallways. I got to see what that building is.
Fair enough. Number 4, your dream collaboration. Architect, musician, dead or alive?
Ooh. Well, I would say they have to be with a number of MCs. I would say right now, since I'm in Texas, I've been thinking about this a lot. Bun, yourself, with Travis Scott, because Travis Scott said he wanted to be an architect. He wants to explore architecture. I think that'll be a good collab to design something. And, maybe that's the next Trill Burger.
I'm open to that.
That would be interesting.
I am open to that. I never thought about that. Obviously, I have to hire an architect every time we build out the inside and decide where we're going to put the soda machines and all this type of stuff. But we can put a little bit more thought into it. And
take it to a whole nother level.
Well, think about how people experience the space. I've tried to let culture be the undertone, to try to lead with the food. So like you pay for the food, but you kind of get the culture for free, type of thing. So, but I would love to see how Travis would allocate space for something like that. That'd be interesting.
And then last thing, what's the future hold? What's next? I know you're still got a lot of work to do in the Hip Hop Museum, but what's next? What can you give us a sneak peek of?
What's next, man? I'm working in Memphis.
Ah, that's right.
So the city of Memphis and Shelby County, they've commissioned a team that I'm on as the architect to design a hip hop museum of the South.
Ooh.
So, I mean, this is early in the discussions, but, Memphis is known for celebrating its music history, and they want to design and create a hip hop museum, but one that's totally dedicated to the story of the South. So, yeah, we've been working on it for about a year now, doing some community engagement, about to start reaching out to artists, doing some more discussions about how do we tell this story in the South. But that's my next project. And what I love about it is this one is being funded by the county and the city thus far.
Wow.
They see the importance of it.
That's dope.
So,
Well, let me introduce you to the hip hop artist of the South right here. Big.
Hey, look, I could be biased, but this sounds like a brilliant idea.
yes, I got to show you. You all over our board. We got a board mapping out the South of hip hop. The hip hop of the South, man, looks like a crazy crime scene. Now we got like people connected to each other. Like, what's the story to tell? How do we connect different states, different cities? But yeah, we definitely we'd love to bring you on. And right now we're talking about, again, what the stories are, what memorabilia is out there, because a lot of other museums have, purchased or they own our history. So how do we create spaces and keep things that are relevant to our culture to us? So,
amen.
Yeah, so we got to catch up. And if Memphis don't pull it off, Houston. Hey, I'm saying
Houston can.
I'll lead that charge all day.
All day.
Well, thank you, sir. It is an absolute pleasure to catch back up with you, and we got to continue to talk now that we got, this museum that Bun's got to be in.
Yeah, sign me up for the South Museum. And if you need anything in the Bronx, let me know, because we're coming.
All right.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, great to meet y'all. Great catching up with you again, Tom. And I'm looking forward to walking y'all through the Bronx.
Can't wait.
Can't wait to see it.
Can't wait.
This is Michael Ford, the hip hop architect. Listeners, follow the show on Instagram at Unglossy Pod. Subscribe to Unglossy on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a comment on Instagram and spread the word. Until next time, I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
And I'm Bun B. And this is Unglossy.
Unglossy is produced and distributed by Merrick Studios.